Everyone, Kevin Nahai. Welcome. So, with Lit'Preneurs is a fledgling of AISH Lit, and if you guys want to learn more about AISH Lit, for those who might be new, you guys should definitely talk with Rabbi Jack and Shira, who, we just heard Rabbi Jack speak, and that was a sample of what we got to experience. When it comes to Lit'Preneurs, we always ask the 6 same questions, which you guys are about to hear, and in these 6 questions, we're going to uncover the full picture in a 3-dimensional way of the business that we are highlighting tonight. Tonight is Kevin Nahai's practice of life coaching and speaking. So, without further ado, let's get us kicked off with the very first question, which is, what's the story of your business?
Thank you, Chaz. Before I answer that, I just want to say thank you guys, all of you, for being here. It means a lot to me. Thank you, Isaac, our host, for opening up his beautiful home to us. And thank you, Rabbi Jack and Shira, for helping us put this together. And thank you, Chaz, for this thing being your whole brainchild. So my name's Kevin. I'm 29. I'm a speaker and a coach. I was born and raised in LA. I'm Persian Jewish. And when I was 19 years old, September 23rd, 2011, I was diagnosed with an incurable disease of the stomach. And my entire life shifted in a flash. It was my first semester of USC. I was a freshman in college. I went from being a very bright-eyed, happy, healthy, jovial high school kid, moving into college expecting to have a normal college experience, and I started to have severe, excruciating pain in the stomach, along with a lot of other symptoms which are not kosher for me to describe in front of an audience. But I went to the doctor, and the doctor told me very plainly, you have this disease, and you have an 80% chance for contracting colon cancer by the age of 25 if you don't get it under control. I thought that getting it under control was just a matter of getting on the right medications and so forth and so on, but they say that you tell God your plans and he laughs. And essentially, the next 4 years, 5 years of my life were pretty much a living hell. After the disease, this disease caused me to be unable to eat. I couldn't hold any food down. So I started losing weight really rapidly. My parents didn't know what to do with me. My family didn't know how to help me. My friends were wondering what is going on with me. And as a result of the trauma of this whole thing, in my mind, unwittingly at the time, I associated food with pain. I started to think that if I eat, I'm going to be in pain, so it's better not to eat. And before I knew it, I had full-blown anorexia as a guy, which is rare, or at least we don't talk about it that much. I'm 5'9", I weigh 185 pounds. By age 20, I was 112 pounds. And my organs weren't working properly, my hair was falling out, I would trip walking up flights of stairs because I was so weak. And people around me would say, what's going on with you? How can we help? And I was in full-blown denial of the problem, and I would tell them, no, it's fine, because I was trying to be strong and I was trying to soldier on. I became very depressed and almost committed suicide. By the grace of God, I survived and lived to tell the tale. Fast forward 10 years later, I am the happiest and healthiest I have ever been. I'm in the best shape of my life. I am fully living my purpose, helping other people. It was not an easy road to get here, and I'm skipping over, of course, 10 years of a lot of hard work and therapy and coaching and rebuilding my life, figuring out what I want to do, how am I going to make money, how do I have successful relationships, working through debilitating anxiety, working through PTSD from the trauma of this whole disease. But what I discovered over the course of the last 10 years on this quest to make my life better and then to be able to teach those tools and skills to other people are 2 things. The first thing that I learned is that I had an extreme version of what every single person in their 20s and 30s deals with. Every person in their 20s and 30s has difficulty figuring out what they want to do with their life. We have some form of depression. We have some form of anxiety. We have a troubled relationship with food or with our body. We all experience, we may not experience a debilitating illness the way that I did, but we all experience some form of one of these 4 or 5 buckets. And we don't talk about them, and we're supposed to be at the prime of our lives when we're in college and in our 20s and early 30s, and yet all of us are experiencing the same exact range of issues. And that was absolutely mind-blowing to me when I found out that, you only hear about the planes that crash and burn. What you don't hear about are all of the planes that have little broken wings and gas leaks and engineering problems. So my plane was crashing and burning, which is why everybody was paying attention. But everybody around me who was watching as I was crashing and burning had their own gas leaks and their own broken wings and engineering problems. And going undetected, those gas leaks and engineering problems turn into a plane that crashes. And that's what the situation was with me. So the first thing that I discovered is we're all dealing with the exact same things. And the second thing that I discovered is that everything we want as people in their 20s and 30s, having a successful and fulfilling career, making money, finding the love of your life, reducing your anxiety, increasing your self-esteem, increasing your confidence, smoothing out relationships with friends and family. All of these things that we want are teachable skills. And a big gripe that I have with the mental health field is that we explain these concepts in big nebulous terms. We just put them all in this cloud, right? Everybody tells you you should love yourself. Well, what the hell does that mean? How do I figure out how to do that? People will tell you, follow your dream, or open your heart, or be yourself. Well, I understand the importance of those things, but how do I do them? And when I was asking that question, nobody had the answers. So my mission became to learn the answers to those questions, to test them on myself, to test them on other people and see what works and what doesn't. And what I found is that every one of those things is a teachable skill. So that's the mission that I am on now, is to save people time and to teach them with more power and more efficiency how to get the things that they want in their lives.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing, and I'm so thankful you're here to tell that story, seriously. What is the determining factor for your success?
That's such a loaded question. It makes me sound like I'm so successful. Ask me in 20 years.
Okay.
No, because I'm still a small fish in this whole process. But
way too humble.
thanks, man. I don't. First of all, I'll just quickly say that one of the problems with our society and with young people in general is that we conflate success and achievement. We think that success is comprised of a series of achievements, and that the more accomplished you are, the more successful you are. And that is one metric. But one of the huge paradigm shifts I had to make in my own life in order to take care of my own mental health, in order to be able to help other people, was to redefine success as the combination of achievement and fulfillment. Achievement without fulfillment is not success, in my book. So we all have to find the things that are personally fulfilling to us and that set our hearts on fire, and we all have to find ways in which we can contribute positively to other people's lives if we really want to consider ourselves successful. So I'm not as accomplished as I would like to be at this stage of my career. I'm still growing, but I am far and away one of the most fulfilled people I know, by the grace of God. Thank God. Thank Hashem.
Yeah.
And I think that by that definition of success, there are two factors. The first one is that my mission when I wake up every single day is to make other people's lives better. So if my definition of success is the combination of achievement and fulfillment, I draw tremendous fulfillment from helping other people, and that is also the way that I become successful financially and in my career, etc. But I think the second thing that has allowed me to be successful and build a little bit of a name in this industry and sort of build my credibility is that I really, really strive to talk the talk and walk the walk, which means I am not the coach, God forbid, who tells you, do as I say, not as I do. Everything that I preach, I truly, truly try to live that message. That was something that drove me crazy. I had a lot of coaches and therapists and a lot of people who told me all kinds of things, but then when I would just pull back the curtain and look into their private lives, it was a complete mess. And my life is not perfect by any means. But the things that I talk about and the things that I preach, I've done my best to apply them to my own life. And in that way, I try to lead by example, and I hope that the more I do that, the more successful I will be.
Leading by example is something that is sometimes easier said than done, and you do it with grace. And so I want to commend you for that, really.
Thank you.
What is the greatest challenge that your business faces on a daily basis?
I'm in the trust building business. And well before I can ever have a coaching session with somebody, well before I can even approach the problem of getting them to push past their obstacles or getting them to adopt new habits, well before, hi, come on in, how are you? Good. Well before I can do any of what I do best, I have to build a repertoire with them, I have to build rapport with them, I have to build trust with them. And that's very difficult because in my industry, we're not selling t-shirts. So it's not like I can put out an advertisement on Facebook and say, buy these t-shirts, and you don't have to have a personal relationship with the person who is selling the t-shirts. What I'm asking people to do essentially is come and tell me their deepest, darkest secrets. And some people are more open than others, but it's generally very difficult for people to trust a stranger with really, really vulnerable information. So a challenge I face on a daily basis is refining the craft of making people feel comfortable with me sooner. The sooner I can get them to feel comfortable with me, the sooner I can get them to trust me, then the better I can do my job and sort of the more I can help them and the more business that I can bring. Now I think you could argue that this is the case for any business, whether you're a doctor or you're a lawyer, anything in the service business. If you're selling a product, it's different. You don't have to build as much trust. But if you're in a service where you're providing a service, whatever professional service that is, you could argue that there's a level of trust and credibility and rapport that needs to be established before that person is going to take your advice or before they're going to hire you or whatever. But I think it's especially challenging in my industry because, when people sit down in my office, the first thing I tell them is, I can only work as hard as you work, and the more honest and the more forthcoming and the more open you are with me, the more I will be able to help you. If I am going based off of information that you're omitting, or that's sort of half true because you're afraid that I'll judge you or whatever, which of course is very natural, then my ability to jump in and help is limited.
Absolutely. What you just described, setting the precedent the way you do whenever onboarding a new client, is what they call in sales an upfront contract. And so I think that's pretty incredible the way that you handle that.
What is that?
An upfront contract, the idea is you're setting the precedent for the kind of conversation, the narrative that you're going to build on. So a great example is you help people understand the time. You get people to understand what the agenda is that you guys are going to talk about. And you're also going to ask them, what items do they want on the agenda? Followed by, are they comfortable with you asking them questions? And am I comfortable with you asking me questions? And then finally, what are the outcomes of that conversation? When you're able to establish that, that's called an upfront contract, and that's exactly what you're doing. That makes a lot of sense.
So you're establishing the initial conditions for this business relationship.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. Moving forward in the future, what do you picture happening with your business?
So I want to do a few things. One is I want to grow, I want to maintain and grow my one-on-one coaching. That really speaks to my heart. I don't have a plan. People ask me if I plan in terms of scaling to bring on other coaches and train them to do what I do and then work under me. That's not part of my plan. I realize that I can't scale as much if there's only one of me. But I will be recording courses so that, if somebody is not able to work with me one-on-one, or if I just don't have the time in my schedule, then I can at least offer people courses and they can watch online and stuff like that. But the other part of my plan is to speak as much and as often as possible. Speaking, I love my coaching. I absolutely adore my clients. But speaking is what sets my heart on fire. It's what I was born to do. It's where I have the most fun. It's where I feel I can deliver the greatest impact in the shortest amount of time. Because if you get 2,000 people in a room and you speak to them for half an hour or an hour, that's 2,000 lives that you've just had the potential to enrich, even if it was only for 1 hour of their day. So the more I can speak, the more I will feel that I've fulfilled my mission. And then I also love to write, and I know that this is far away, but my first book will be coming out January 2023 in 1 year. So look out for that. In the meantime, I write all sorts of articles and stuff. But
if you were going to bring it up, I was going to hint at it a little bit. So I love that you brought that up. And I think some of the themes that I can relate to with that you mentioned just now is the idea of being able to say yes to more people if they can't afford your basic service, that you are able to give an online course that they can take, followed by the idea of just doing what you love. And those are some things that are just so important to do. I think they're just so goals that everyone with a business should aspire to have. Absolutely.
Yeah, one of the things that I've learned from my business coach. By the way, I have 2 coaches, just so everybody knows that this is legit. Okay, I have an emotional coach and I have a business coach. And I talk to Chaz all the time about business stuff, and I talk to Joe all the time about business stuff. Justin is my financial advisor, so I'm all about getting help in different areas from people who are smarter than I am. And if you don't have a therapist or a coach already, please approach me. You don't have to work with me, but you can get a referral. I will refer you to somebody who I think is great. I had a consultation with Noah to learn about social media and marketing. There are so many genius minds in this room right now. I'm supposed to actually have a meeting with this gentleman so we can talk about how our services cross over. He's a physician, So just really use this opportunity as time to network and take advantage of everybody in here who is so brilliant and has so much to offer. But I digress. What I was just going to say really quickly is that my business coach taught me what Chaz is saying right now, which is that you have to, the answer to should I have a consulting business, or should I have an online course, or should I have a speech, or should I have a product is yes. The answer is yes to all of it. And Noah and I were talking about this recently, because you want to be able to reach as many people as possible at their level of spending. If somebody can only afford $9 a month for your service, you should have an option on your website that's $9 a month. I don't have that option on my website. Working on it. TBD. Okay? Right? But that's the idea. And you should have a wide range of services to be able to get any person in the door and get them familiar with the type of work that you do.
Well said, absolutely. I wanted to ask you, when you think about what you've been able to accomplish so far with your business, what is the most important advice that you could give that might be ubiquitous to everyone in the room right now?
Are you talking business advice or are you talking life advice?
Dealer's choice.
Don't get me started on the life advice. I'll try to give one piece of advice that I really live by that I think is applicable to everything in our lives, whether it's business or improving our confidence or losing weight or making money or building relationships. And that is that action precedes feeling. Action precedes feeling. And what that means, in other terms, is that we have this equation, we have the whole equation backwards. The way that we think about things is that when I feel more motivated, or when I feel more confident, or when I feel happier, then I will act on that feeling and I will turn that into a certain result. For example, I feel really insecure right now about the way that I look. When I feel a little bit more secure, then I'll feel comfortable enough to go to the gym and start working out. But we have that equation completely backwards. The action has to come first. The action is what leads into the feeling, right? When we take a series of actions over and over again consistently, then it turns into a feeling of accomplishment, or a feeling of discipline, or a feeling of gratitude, or a feeling that this relationship is improving, whatever it may be. So it's a chicken and the egg situation. For example, do you drink so much alcohol because you're depressed? Or are you depressed because you drink so much alcohol? Do you not go to the gym because you're insecure about your body? Or are you insecure about your body because you don't go to the gym? I don't know. It's a chicken and the egg situation. Every situation is different. But the answer, the solution to that conundrum is only ever an action. You're only going to get out of that chicken and the egg situation by quitting your drinking, or by getting up and going to the gym, or by picking up the phone and calling somebody. And the reason that I share this as the piece of advice that's both applicable to life and to business is that I spent a good year and a half planning to create this business. And all of that planning didn't get me very far at all. In fact, all it really did was push me off a year and a half from what I knew in my heart I always wanted to do. Chaz mentioned that I used to be a professional drummer. I played drums professionally from like 18 to 23. You could say that starting at the age, you could say that I've been planning to do this my whole life. Because even when I was a drummer, even when I loved that and that was my great passion in life, this is what I always wanted to do. But I was scared. I was waiting for the feeling of being more comfortable. I wasn't scared of like audiences. I don't have any stage fright or anything, thank God. But I was scared that people wouldn't listen to me. I was scared of, where am I going to get a client? I was scared of, why would anybody care about my story? There are so many other people that they could listen to. So I was planning, and I was waiting, and I was hoping that the feeling of readiness would cultivate itself in me naturally. And it didn't come, and it didn't come, and if you wait so long to take an action, you could be waiting until you die of old age. This thing of like motivation is such a myth. I love what I do, but I don't feel motivated to wake up at 6:30 in the morning every day and hit the books and start doing what I'm doing. Like, I want to sleep and pull the cover over my head and be comfortable, cuddle with my dog just like everybody else. So the motivation thing is a total myth. It's a non-starter, and if you rely on that, you'll be waiting a long time. If you just identify one small action, what's one thing I can do to make my life 1% better today? What's one thing I can do to make my life 1% better, or to take one step closer to my goal? Whether that's a personal, a professional, a career goal, a relationship goal, a body goal, financial goal, it doesn't matter. And take that one action. and then take it again the next day, and again the next day. And pretty soon your subconscious starts to see, wow, this person is actually credible. This person is actually capable of doing what he said or she said he or she would do. And the dividends that pays out are infinite. Essentially, this whole game of being successful in business and in life is the game of building our reputations with ourselves. The reason that so many people are unsuccessful and unfulfilled is not that they lack the intellect or the hard work or the ability or the competence. The reason is that they lack reputation with themselves. They lack credibility with themselves. And their trust in themselves is shot. You talk about not being secure, being insecure about my ability to be a speaker and a coach, for example. That's something I struggled with for many years. That's not a problem of not being experienced or seasoned. That's a problem of not trusting my ability. And frankly, why should I trust my ability when I'm not doing it? What credibility do I have when I'm not doing it? The minute I start doing it, the minute I start taking that action day in, day out, now I get to say, I'm building some credibility. Now I get to say that I have discipline. And discipline is doing the thing you said you would do long after the mood you said it in has left you. Because we all get into those moods. But discipline is the way that we build the credibility with ourselves, and taking that action is the first step to building that discipline. So get on it, people. Whatever it is.
I love it. Love it. Finally, Kevin, the final question that we ask at Lit'Preneurs, and this is your chance to be as vulnerable, not that you haven't been vulnerable enough. What is your ask and what is your give?
I'm an oversharer. I don't have, sometimes I have a problem being too vulnerable.
Right.
So I'll start with my give. My give is a free 15-minute coaching call for anybody in this room. If there's anything you are struggling with, call me and we will find a time to talk 100% confidentially. That is my gift to you. And if you need more time than 15 minutes, that's okay. We'll stretch it. It's my way of saying thank you. Totally for free. There's no obligation whatsoever. My ask is two things. So I guess I should be giving two things, but my ask is first of all, just keep me in mind if you come across anybody who you think would be a good match for coaching. If you can just drop my name and say, hey, I think you should call this guy. You know, I like him if you like me. I would really appreciate that. And then the second thing that I would ask of all of you guys is to don't be afraid to take an inventory of your life and ask yourselves if where you are is where you would like to be. And if there is a gap between those two places, then just, as I said, start to take one action every day to narrow that gap. My personal definition of hell is that on the day you die, on the last day you have on this earth, who you are meets who you could have become. You have 3 hours left on earth, and the person you are shakes hands with the person you wanted to be. And when I was 20 and I thought that I was going to take my own life, I had that handshake. And may God strike me if I'm lying right now, that was the scariest, darkest, worst moment of my life. Because the gap between who I was in that moment and who I wanted to be was so incredibly vast that it felt like nothing I could do in 10 lifetimes would ever close it. And I know that every single person in this room is so intelligent, so beautiful, so capable, so competent. You come from good families. You have good values. I know what each and every one of you guys does for a living. Just by virtue of what you do for a living, I know how strong and resilient and capable you all are. And so what I ask you to do is look at where your life is now and look at where you want your life to be. Don't be afraid to take that inventory. Don't be afraid of that problem, because you guys are closer than you think. And whatever consists in that gap, just start to make changes to close it. And that should be your mission every day. That is my mission every day. Not to compare myself to who I used to be, not to compare myself to who I want to be in the future, and God forbid not to compare myself to anybody else. But to compare myself against my values, to compare myself against that person, that character that I'm trying to cultivate, and to compare myself against that gap of what I would like to be. Not 10 years, not in 20 years, but right now. Am I living the way I would like to be? If I was watching myself in a movie, am I doing the things that I would be impressed if that character did? So I'd ask you to look inside your own hearts, and don't be afraid of that question. It's a very, very powerful question. I hope it haunts all of you at night. Please let me know if any of you wants to have that 15-minute call. I'm here for you, and it'll be 1,000% confidential. God bless you guys. Thank you.
So, I've been waiting to hear Kevin Nahai speak on his business at Lit'Preneurs for, I guess this is the third time, so for, 3 months now. And mission accomplished, man. Incredible job, seriously.
Thank you, brother.
This stage of Lit'Preneurs, for those who it's their first time here, what we do is we actually split up into groups and we discuss a prompt. Last time we went over VIPs, which stand for victories, impending events, and problems. We'll not be doing that this time. We're actually going to be changing it up. And per the guest's request, what we're going to be doing is we're all going to be discussing in a circle in our own groups the prompts that Kevin chooses right now. So Kevin, what are we about to discuss?
Do we have any questions?
Oh yeah, right. Sorry, Q&A. I jumped ahead. I got excited. Any questions for Kevin?
Q&A is always my favorite part.
Yeah,
Yes,
please.
Jackson.
I just have a good question. You mentioned you have all of these coaches that help you in different ways, but what does Rabbi Jack do for you?
Oh my God. Rabbi Jack is the ultimate. Rabbi Jack is my spiritual inspiration. I've been meeting with Rabbi Jack for the better part of a year, and I look forward to every single Thursday. And Rabbi Jack and Shira and this organization have enriched my life in a way that, I'll never be able to repay. I have this strange feeling that I'm going to meet my wife through AISH somehow. Baruch Hashem.
We're excited.
Yeah.
Manifesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you have a question?
I did. I have a question. So in a profession where you have to motivate people and coach them, obviously there are days when you wake up and you're not feeling great, right? And I know you say action before feeling, but I guess my question is on those days where you're really not in the mood, right? What do you do to put action? Because it's a lot easier to say action before feeling, right? So I'm just wondering, are there certain skills or certain things you do to really do that?
Yeah, so in order to be successful at that, it's a prevention game. It's a maintenance game, not a reaction game. So you don't want to react when you have that problem. You want to prevent that problem as much as possible. The ways in which that I do that are, I work out every day for 2 hours, an hour and a half, 2 hours, uninterrupted. I have, my outlets for my emotional issues from my coaches and Rabbi Jack, etc. I don't look at social media in the morning when I wake up or at night before I go to bed. I'm very careful about, not taking home problems from the workplace with me so that they don't permeate my mind and drive me crazy because I'm listening to a lot of heavy stuff all day long. But in the event that you do have to react, there are some days where if something, God forbid, really difficult is happening in my life, hi, come on in. How are you? Welcome. There are some days where if something is really difficult is happening, then yeah, I will have to, call my clients and say, hey, can I move the session? I'm having a rough day and I need to take care of myself. And actually, I feel that it's important to model that behavior for my clients so that they know that self-maintenance is an important skill. We hear this term self-care a lot, but when I think of self-care, I think of like someone being stressed to the brim Monday through Saturday, and then on Sunday they go get a massage. And essentially what you're doing there is you're waiting until the oil gets so low on your engine that it combusts, and then you have to go pay $5,000 to have the whole engine replaced. So rather than self-care, I like to use the term self-maintenance, which means the little things every day that you do to maintain your engine running smoothly and properly. And the last thing I'll say, this is a great question. If it's a day where I'm not doing great, but I'm doing well enough that like I don't have to push my clients off and I can, be present. Really, the way I think about it, Jamie, is that I have to do this. It's higher than me. I have an obligation. I signed up for this. And that person might need me that day more than I have the luxury of tending to myself. And because I do a lot of self-maintenance on that day, if I have to meet my obligation to help that person, it may be stressful, but it's a privilege. And it's an honor, and it's God's greatest blessing that I've ever received.
Awesome.
Thank you.
We have time for 2 more questions. Oh, you have a question?
Kevin, so on kind of the business side, how do you handle when you have a client who may not be getting it or may not be listening, but is still, coming week after week or session after session, and they may be like trying their hardest, or they think they're getting it, but in your professional opinion, they're just they're doing the wrong things. How do you deal with that?
It's incredibly frustrating because I really, really invest myself into their success. And most therapists and coaches see their role as being a container for people's issues. And I'm here to listen, I'm here to ask questions, but what you do when you leave my office is not my responsibility. Why? Because I'm not your babysitter, I'm not your dad, okay? But that's not the way I see my responsibility. I see my responsibility and my obligation as creating behavioral changes. So when someone is not getting it, it could be their inability to act on what I'm teaching them, or it could be a personal failure. It could be some way in which I am not communicating with them properly. So the first thing I try to do is go back to the drawing board and say, why isn't this person getting it? What is the approach that I need to take that's different, that's going to cause them to get it? And when I do that and I sort of re-engineer the program, I'm usually able to get them to follow through. In the case where I've tried different approaches and they just are not ready, or they don't want to put in the work, or they're not following through on their half of the bargain, then I stop taking their money. But that has only ever happened twice. I've been doing this for 3 years and I've only ever had to fire 2 clients. And both clients wasn't because I didn't like them, it was because in those 2 rare occasions, I didn't want to take their money. They kept paying, they kept coming, they kept showing up, but they weren't growing. And I tried everything I could. Again, shout out to my business coach, taught me something very important, which I think is not only applicable to business, but also to all of our relationships, which is not every client you have is the client you want. That really took me a while to digest, that this isn't about me and imposing my will on them. It's my responsibility to help them on their terms. And not every client I have is the client that I want them to be. So that's a tough thing to contend with, but so far, so good.
Awesome. We have time for one more question. Anyone from this side of the room? I guess we answered a lot more over here. Anyone from over this side of the room that has that question asked? Or this side. It could be anybody. Anybody.
Brian.
Just curious, those two clients, did you think about like referring them to someone else to make money on them somehow?
No. What a disappointing question.
Well,
I just felt like asking something, I wasn't sure what to ask, so I just
Thank you.
Brian, beauty coaching?
Brian, the great news is I know a great coach. Okay. So, okay, cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and reiterate what I said before.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I totally jumped the gun, and I'm so sorry about that. But Kevin is gonna pick a prompt, and then what we're gonna do is split it up into different groups. I think with the size of the number of people that are here tonight, I think we can split off into 4 groups, which is crazy.
Of how many? 3 or 4 each?
Well, I didn't do quick math. I don't know, so I'll figure it out. But I want to ask you, Kevin, what is the prompt that you want us to discuss in our groups?
Okay, so there were 6 questions that Chaz asked me. The one that I would like all the groups to focus on is, what is your vision for the future of your professional career? Whether that is starting a business or moving up or making a lateral move to something else. Where are you right? Of course, you'll have to qualify by explaining where you are right now, and then what is your vision for the near future.
Awesome. So with that prompt in mind, what I'm now going to do is I'm going to go around, and when I point to you, I'm going to give you a number between 1 and 4. Remember your number. After that, I will tell you guys where to go, and then we'll go from there, okay? So one more time, by the way, give a round of applause to that.